Imagine waking up to watch the sunrise. The sun begins its steady journey from the east, moving unstoppably toward the west until it sets. Our lives mirror this rhythm. From the moment of birth, we move inevitably toward our own sunset, death. This truth is universal, affecting everyone equally, regardless of who they are or what they've achieved. But here's the question: why is death such a difficult topic? If you bring it up at the dinner table, you'll likely be met with discomfort or outright disapproval. People avoid it, considering it too grim or sorrowful. However, death isn't our enemy. It's our greatest teacher. Today, let's embark on a journey to understand why contemplating death is essential, not to dampen our spirits, but to enrich our lives. Why do we avoid talking about death? Culturally, death has often been shrouded in fear. It's considered pessimistic, almost like an omen. Don't talk about such things, people might say, as if discussing it could somehow bring it closer. This collective aversion leaves us ill-prepared for the inevitable. However, avoiding a reality doesn't make it less real. Death doesn't wait for permission or preparedness. Understanding and accepting this truth can actually be liberating. It helps us focus on what truly matters: the love we share, the kindness we give, and the legacy we leave. Death as a teacher, the Buddha's wisdom. The Buddha didn't shy away from discussing death. He believed that acknowledging our mortality was a cornerstone of wisdom. He said, "Whether you are male or female, monk or layperson, remember that you are a dying person. Mortality is inescapable." Why did he emphasize this so strongly? Because when we ignore death, we live as though we have infinite time. This illusion leads us to procrastinate, hold grudges, and chase superficial goals. But when we reflect on our limited time, we become more intentional. Every moment becomes precious. Changing perspectives, it's not death, it's our fear. Let's clarify an important point. It's not death itself that makes life seem bleak. It's our perspective. When we think of death as a loss or failure, it looms like a dark cloud. But if we see it as a natural part of life, it becomes a guide, a reminder to live authentically. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast forest. You're hesitant to enter because it's unfamiliar. But once you step inside, you discover beauty. Sunlight filtering through leaves, birdsong, the scent of earth. Similarly, accepting death allows us to uncover the richness of life. The urgency of now, life's expiration date. Think about this. Every product in a grocery store has an expiration date. So do we. Yet, unlike milk cartons, our best before label isn't visible. This uncertainty can be a blessing. It encourages us to treat each day as if it might be our last. The Buddha taught that we should reflect daily. If I were to die today, what would I want to accomplish? This isn't a morbid exercise. It's a call to action. It nudges us to be kinder, to resolve conflicts, and to focus on what truly matters. Intoxicated by life, the illusion of permanence. One of the greatest obstacles to living fully is what the Buddha called intoxication with life. Many of us live as though we'll never die, planning endlessly for a future we assume is guaranteed. This mindset makes us complacent, even reckless. For example, think about how often we postpone important conversations or acts of kindness. "I'll call my parents tomorrow," we say, or "I'll apologize next week." But what if tomorrow never comes? Reflecting on death snaps us out of this illusion, reminding us to act now. Practical ways to reflect on death. 1. Morning meditation. Begin your day by acknowledging its impermanence. Ask yourself, if today were my last day, how would I spend it? 2. Gratitude practice. Reflect on the people and experiences that enrich your life. What would you want to thank them for? 3. Letting go. Identify grudges or regrets you're holding on to. Is it worth carrying them, knowing your time is limited? 4. Creating legacy. Think about the memories and impact you'll leave behind. What kind of person do you want to be remembered as? Examples from real life. In the parent's perspective, a mother who lost her son in a car accident reflected that his death taught her to cherish her remaining children more deeply. She began writing them letters, sharing her thoughts and feelings, something she had always intended to do someday. The survivor's gratitude. A man who survived a near-fatal illness described how the experience transformed him. He started volunteering, saying, "Every hour I give to others feels like a gift I'm returning." These stories show that contemplating death doesn't diminish life. It magnifies it. Why this matters in a materialistic world. We live in a time when material success is often equated with happiness. But as the Buddha pointed out, our possessions won't follow us beyond death. What remains are our actions, words, and intentions, the good we've done for others. So, instead of chasing material gains, focus on cultivating qualities like compassion, patience, and generosity. These are the treasures that endure. Before we continue, take a moment to reflect. What are the things you've been postponing? Who are the people you need to reconnect with? And if this resonates with you, consider subscribing to Buddhism in Modern Life, where we explore topics like this in greater depth. Let's grow and learn together. As we've explored, thinking about death isn't about fear. It's about clarity and purpose. But how do we transform these insights into daily practices? In the next section, we'll dive deeper into actionable steps, explore more real-life stories, and conclude with profound lessons from the Buddha. Stay tuned. Embracing mortality, transforming reflection into action. In part 1, we explored the wisdom of contemplating death as a way to live more meaningfully. We considered why people avoid the topic, the Buddhist teachings on the importance of this reflection, and how acknowledging our mortality shifts our perspective. But knowing is one thing, applying that knowledge is another. Now, let's delve deeper into how these lessons can shape our actions and transform our lives. The power of daily reminders. The Buddha encouraged frequent reminders of death, not as a way to instill fear, but to inspire urgency. Imagine starting each morning with this thought: today could be my last day. How will I spend it? Such a practice is not morbid but empowering. It centers you in the present and ensures that your priorities align with what truly matters. For example, many successful people, philosophers, entrepreneurs, even athletes, advocate for this kind of mindset. Steve Jobs famously said, "If today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today?" If the answer was no, too many days in a row, he knew it was time to change something. Here are actionable ways to integrate this practice. 1. Morning ritual. Begin with a moment of silence or meditation. Visualize your life as a finite thread. Ask yourself, what would I regret if today were my last? What must I do to feel at peace? 2. Evening reflection. Before bed, review your day. Did your actions align with your values? If not, how can tomorrow be different? 3. Set intentions. Write down 3 small but meaningful things you can do daily. Whether it's expressing gratitude, helping someone in need, or simply being fully present with loved ones. Real-life stories. How death brings clarity. The story of Mariko, the caregiver. Mariko, a nurse in hospice care, witnessed firsthand how people approach their final days. She noted a pattern. Patients often regretted the things they didn't do, the risks they didn't take, the relationships they neglected, not the mistakes they made. This inspired her to live boldly. She started a journal titled, "What I'll Be Glad I Did," and began pursuing her passions, from photography to reconnecting with estranged family members. Rahul's perspective after an accident. Rahul, a software engineer, survived a car accident that nearly claimed his life. During his recovery, he reevaluated his priorities. He realized he'd spent years chasing promotions while neglecting his health and family. Now, he dedicates weekends to hiking with his children and practices mindfulness to stay present. "Death isn't the enemy," he says. "It's the best wake-up call I've ever had." These stories highlight how reflecting on mortality can catalyze profound change. When we face death honestly, we discover what truly matters. Overcoming fear. Building a peaceful mindset. Fear of death is natural. It's hardwired into us for survival. But excessive fear can paralyze us, preventing us from fully living. The Buddha taught that by meditating on death, we can transform this fear into acceptance and even peace. Strategies to overcome the fear of death. 1. Meditation on impermanence. Focus on the transient nature of everything, your breath, your emotions, the changing seasons. This helps you understand that impermanence is not a flaw in life. It's its essence. 2. Gratitude practice. Instead of fearing what you'll lose, appreciate what you have. Write down 3 things you're grateful for each day, reinforcing the beauty of the present. 3. Compassionate living. Shift your focus outward. Helping others brings a sense of fulfillment that fear cannot diminish. When you're making a difference, fear of death feels less pressing. Material possessions versus lasting legacy. When contemplating death, a stark realization often emerges. Material possessions are fleeting. The houses we own, the cars we drive, the gadgets we treasure, they all lose significance at life's end. What remains are the memories we create and the lives we touch. The story of Eleanor, a life of giving. Eleanor, a retired teacher, devoted her later years to mentoring underprivileged students. She knew her time was limited due to a terminal illness, but instead of withdrawing, she became more active. Her students often spoke of how her kindness and guidance changed their lives. Eleanor's story reminds us that true wealth lies in the positive impact we leave behind. A question for reflection. Take a moment to ask yourself, what will I be remembered for? Will it be the things you owned or the kindness you shared? By focusing on your legacy, you shift from accumulating to giving, from fear to purpose. The role of spiritual practice in accepting death. For centuries, spiritual traditions have offered tools to navigate mortality. Buddhism, for instance, encourages mindfulness and meditation as ways to confront death with clarity and courage. Mindfulness and death. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to live in the present moment. This awareness extends to our mortality. Instead of seeing death as a distant event, we integrate it into our understanding of life. A breath awareness. Each breath reminds us of the life cycle. Inhale, exhale, repeat. Eventually, the breaths will stop. Meditating on this cycle fosters acceptance. A walking meditation. As you walk, reflect on the impermanence of your steps. Each footprint is temporary, yet part of a larger journey. Lessons from the Buddha on death. The Buddha often used parables to teach about mortality. One of the most poignant is the story of Kisagami. Stricken with grief after losing her child, Kisagami sought the Buddha's help. He told her to find a mustard seed from a household untouched by death. She couldn't find one. Through this, she realized death is universal and inevitable. Her grief transformed into wisdom, and she found peace. This story reminds us that while death is painful, it also connects us. Our shared mortality unites us in compassion and understanding. As we conclude, let's revisit the key lessons we've explored. Reflect daily. Remember that life is finite. Use this awareness to prioritize what matters most. Focus on relationships. Nurture bonds with loved ones. Kindness and love create lasting memories. Create a legacy. Think about how your actions today will shape the world you leave behind. Alive authentically. Pursue what brings meaning and joy, rather than what society expects. Thinking about death isn't about giving up hope. It's about embracing life fully. When we accept our mortality, we free ourselves from the illusion of permanence and gain the courage to live authentically. As we move forward, let's remember the Buddha's advice. Contemplate death, not to fear it, but to understand it. Let it guide you to kindness, purpose, and peace. And if this message resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to Buddhism in Modern Life for more insights like these. Together, we can explore the wisdom of ancient teachings and apply them to modern challenges.